Yeah, I don't know. I guess it works for her. Hey dancers, it's Kirsten. Welcome back to Twin Talks Ballet, your place on the internet for practical guidance on how to flourish as a ballet dancer. So today I'm going to be doing something quite new on this channel, which is I will be making a reaction video to Misty Copeland's Masterclass. Now this is on masterclass.com. If you're anything like me, Instagram has hit you with ads for joining Masterclass for the last year and a half or so, maybe longer. And I think about 8 months ago, I succumbed to the pressure, and I'm so glad I did. I've been really enjoying my masterclass subscription. Yet, tell me if you relate to this. I've known since before I got the subscription that Misty Copeland has a masterclass on ballet on here. And by the way, if you don't know what masterclass is, I'll link it down below so you can check it out for context. Chances are, if you clicked on this video, you probably know what it is. But anyway, when I knew that Misty had a master class, I thought, wow, that's so great. Representation of ballet in popular culture. I love that. Yet, tell me if you're like this too. I love ballet so much. I love dancing, but since I work in the ballet industry, ballet has very much been my life, I'd say, since I started dancing when I was 6, but it's been my life for a long time. One effect of that for me is when I'm not actively working or dancing, I like to think about something else. Tell me if you're the same. So no shade on this masterclass at all. I just thought, you know what, I'm not that interested in watching it just because I think about ballet a lot and I'd rather learn about, I don't know, fashion from Tan France, you know what I'm saying? That being said, I finally watched this masterclass with the objective of seeing what it's all about and giving you guys my thoughts and opinions. So without further ado, I'm going to share some clips of this masterclass. Of course, I can't share the whole thing, but just little highlight moments, I'd say. And I'll give you my responses and reactions. And I hope this is both entertaining and insightful for you. So let's get started.
People think of dancers as like these perfect, kind of soft fairy tale characters. And as dancers, we're also constantly pushing ourselves to be perfect. It's great to be able to push yourself and aim for something, but also knowing that you will never achieve perfection.
Yes. Okay. So what I love so far is Misty is introducing this idea of having that contrast and having to have mental adaptability in order to coexist with that tension. So let's keep discovering more.
Nowadays, we get so caught up in this outer experience of how high your leg is or how skinny someone is. But what makes dancers, I think, so special is that you wake up every morning and your body is going to be different. You may be able to do a triple pirouette the day before, and then the next you have to adjust to whatever condition your body is in. We're constantly starting over again.
Can I pause and just say that one of the best dancers in the entire world did not just say, you have to get up every morning, and if your body isn't in the exact same condition, push anyway, demand the same anyway, be better than yesterday. Notice she's not saying that, which I respect tremendously. Misty has gotten to this level without that mental rigidity, or I'm sure she's like most of us, we've had that mental rigidity of like, I have to be better than yesterday all the time, which isn't entirely a bad goal, but it can get destructive very, very quickly. So I love that she's demonstrating that in order to get to her level and to have longevity and to not spend a majority of your time in the studio fighting against yourself, you need to have that mental adaptability to come in, to assess what you have to give that day and just do what you can.
Every time you dance, that's just another chance to be reborn. And so I think just like own your power and your voice.
Ooh. Yes, own your power and your voice. Love it. Okay.
Always striving to be better has allowed me to constantly be open to starting over. Every dancer should be able to do everything. I don't truly believe in someone being a turner or someone being a jumper. I think if you have the right training, you can accomplish everything in the technical repertoire. And so I believe that a lot of the injuries that I've had are because of not knowing how to work correctly. And I think that my hypermobility has caused a lot of that. My most severe injury that I've had in my career were 6 stress fractures to my left tibia.
Oof,
I
Misty.
think that could have been prevented had I had the right, muscle strength around my knees and support. And it's frustrating, when I was at, I don't know, 35 years old and I still wasn't able to accomplish certain steps. It's like I just didn't want to give in to that. Well, you're so hypermobile and your legs are so hyperextended and your feet are so flexible, so you're just not going to be able to hop on point.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Misty Copeland, for exemplifying this attitude. She's talking about not accepting limitations that are so common in our industry. Like, for example, with the hyperextension in the feet, I see so many young dancers who could be nurtured into learning how to hop on point. I see them being stunted in their progress because this mindset is passed down to them from their teachers that, oh, well, of course it's harder for you. That's just not your thing. And I love that she's talking about how even though maybe on the outside that would be an easy assumption to make, at 35, 36 in her training, she is overcoming those mental obstacles and saying, no, you know what, when I put that idea aside and I do get resourceful, I do get the training to be able to do those things, then I can do them. And she wouldn't be able to get to that level if she didn't say, you know what? No, I'm going to believe that, yes, I can. Now, how can I do it? So, amen, Misty. 10 out of 10 for the mindset.
It was like, I just can't accept that. It's really crazy, but I started over 6 months ago, trying to get rid of as much as you can in my muscle memory to taking on a different way of approaching ballet, which is very simple.
I also love that she's exemplifying starting over again. And this is purely, I think, an example of how powerful our minds are. Misty could continue to go down the same train track she's been going down of learning these rigid ways of approaching ballet since she was young, and then constantly being like, why isn't it working for me? Why can't I still do the hops? Why am I still getting injured? And instead of asking those questions in kind of an exasperated sort of way, it's, let's see how I can wipe the slate clean and start fresh, which is a very humble thing to do, especially at her level. And I want to invite you dancers who are watching, no matter what your level of training or achievement is in the ballet world, you can exemplify that attitude and experience these same benefits every day. And I love that since she's opened her mind to a new approach, she has found a more efficient way of moving that works much, much better for her, and it has produced physical results for her. Also, hold on, look at this screen. Look at how far forward her weight is. I think this is fantastic, and this is something when I teach ballet classes, I'm always trying to get students to shift their weight from having this posture that's like, this is ballet posture, upright and open like this, and you get a lot of tension at the front of the neck. Notice that Misty is very elongated, especially at the front of her pelvis. So her entire torso is quite far forward over her standing foot, which allows for her to have a lot more ease and control in her movement.
And by building that strength and muscle, it's actually made my legs straighter and taken away a lot of the mobility that was a little bit too much for me. And so it just seems really simple that I do have the ability to strengthen my body and get it to do whatever it is I want it to.
Okay, I will say it has been, I watched this masterclass yesterday, full disclosure, so though I am reacting because I don't remember everything I watched, I do already have a general impression because I wanted to know what I'm getting into. One thing that has surprised me when I watch Misty do some of these bar exercises is, I will say on the positive end, I really want to watch this and am watching it with as open of a mind as I can manage, because I don't have hyperextended legs, hardly at all. And so one thing I'm doing when I'm watching this video, or these videos, these short clips, is when I see Misty standing, for example, with her knees together and her heels really far apart, or like we'll probably see later on in this video, her hips seem to be more over her heel rather than over the balls of her feet, which she will describe a little bit of why. At first, when I saw that, I was like, hold on, what girl? Like, what? Because it just goes totally against everything that I have personally been taught. However, I think it's really important to say, you know what, even if something doesn't make sense to me or it's contradictory to my training, it's important to be humble and to have an open mind and to recognize you can open your mind to learn without immediately committing to, okay, because you say so, I have to do that. Though I might have initially been like, why is her weight over her heel? What the heck? Or why does her pelvis seem a little tucked? I'm excited when I watch this masterclass to actually kind of let go of some of my own preconceived notions and to remember, hey, Misty, A, has a very different body than me. B, different training. C, is also one of the best ballet dancers in the whole world. And so who am I to be like, my technical approach is so superior, but I have a different body, different training than her. Just wanted to mention that because, yeah, some of you guys, I'd love to hear in the comments if you are also like, whoa, what? I've always heard that even if you're hyperextended, you need to have your heels together. I have some hyperextended students that I teach. It's a great chance to learn a very different approach for a different body type.
When I was given the opportunity to learn Swan Lake, I was still a soloist at the time, and it was just shocking. I never ever thought that I would take on that role. It's just not something that ever even crossed my mind. I think probably subconsciously, because that's just not a role that a Black woman is given. So when I first approached the role, I didn't really have any real thoughts about any of the technical difficulties of it. And when I did the ballet for the first time with American Ballet Theatre, I was in Australia. And looking back, like, it was so easy. I mean, not easy, but there were no real challenges. I did the 32 fouettes. I finished, and, everyone was so happy. They thought, wow, I think because of the late age that I was given that opportunity and my maturity and having watched so many different generations of ballerinas throughout my career in the company, that it was as if it wasn't my first time.
For you dancers who are watching and you feel behind, you feel too old for opportunities, I think this is a great example of how we can actually see our maturity, whether you're going into company auditions at an older age than most, or summer programs, or whatever. Maybe you're the oldest dancer in your class, or you're starting ballet as an adult recreationally. This is a great chance, instead of getting down on yourself like, oh, I should have been younger. Well, of course, we know we can't control the past, we can't reverse time, but what we can do is see our age and our maturity as an opportunity, which I think Misty has done pretty well in this situation. So I love that she is saying that since she got to observe so many others go before her, and with her maturity, though I would totally understand if she got to the stage and thought, gosh, it took me so long to get here. I know that Sarah Mearns, I think, did this at 19. Maybe some thoughts like that came up for her. I don't know, I'm not in her head, but that's really common to think that way. But I love that, at least in the end, what we're seeing here is she's coming to it with saying, actually my age and approaching this at a later time in my career gave me an advantage.
The way I start my days at the bar, I think that I have a different understanding of the ballet technique than I ever have in my professional career.
Okay, see what I mean? It looks a little grippy, a little tucky there, but again, I'm here to learn.
Be able to take on all the stresses of what it is to be a professional dancer. Less is more. Less repetition.
Yes.
More quality work. Yes. I've gotten to a point on stage now where the less I'm kind of moving my body, the more I can save energy and have more stamina.
Yes. Okay. I love that she's talking about this less is more approach, because I want to say in the ballet world, there's this glorification of struggle and just grit and working as hard as humanly possible. But it comes to a certain point where, yes, hard work is kind of like that law in economics. It's called the law of marginal return. Hard work will get you to a certain point where you're experiencing more and more benefit the harder you work. And then you get to a certain point, like in Misty's career, where working harder actually leaves her more exhausted, more injured, more tense probably, less able to get through a whole ballet. And so I love that she's giving us the opportunity to think about this and to say, maybe challenge that mindset of just work as hard as humanly possible. And artistry is about bending and moving as much as you possibly can. Actually, no, it's not. It's nice to see how far you can bend, experiment, go for it. But I think maturity as an artist looks like being able to bend a whole lot, but then scaling back and recognizing, just flapping my arms in allongé, it's actually distracting. It's a little too much. So instead, through her maturity and her years of artistry, she has learned just the subtle effects of her artistry, and you don't necessarily have to like go all out and be crazy just to project necessarily.
My bar work is pretty simple. I do a lot of it facing the bar, which I think a lot of people would think, oh, that's what children do. When you're 5, you start facing the bar. But I think it's a really good way for me to just find the stability, get warm, and then quickly be able to move on and do what I need to do. So we're just going to start simply like I would do.
Oh my goodness. So again, I think she's demonstrating that there's this kind of arc of development in every dancer's journey where you need to have kind of that more is more approach. Get your legs higher, take more classes, expend more effort. But then you get to a point where, yeah, she's like, I face the bar for these exercises. But through her maturity, the way she is able to approach these extremely simple exercises gets her to this place where she has just enough engagement of her muscles and warmth and flexibility, whatever, in her class to be able to go do what's most important, which is probably for her rehearsing and performing.
So I usually start in second position and really just go in order of getting my core to feel engaged, and then getting my hips to really be wrapped and strong, and then straightening my knees as much as I can and getting the weight kind of really pushed down through my heels. Fully straighten your legs by planting your heels into the ground. Shifting your weight to the balls of your feet will actually cause you to lose balance and fall out of alignment.
Okay, this is where I feel like this masterclass is, I kind of wish it had this disclaimer a little bit more. I feel like this instruction that Misty is giving is really appropriate for hyperextended dancers. Not all approaches to ballet work for all bodies, and I do think that teachers of ballet who have that really rigid approach to say, like, if I feel this in my body that has hypermobility and hyperextension, if it works on my body, then all my students need to be doing it. I think that lack of adaptability in the approach is not helpful in the ballet world. For my body personally, when I'm more in the ball of the foot, my leg is able to engage very efficiently and I'm most on balance for my body. For Misty's body, what she's talked about in another clip is how getting her weight onto the balls of her foot, actually in her training when she was taught that, it caused her to hyperextend so much that it was not helpful and dangerous, and it prevented her from building appropriate quad strength to have that balance in strength around her knee joints that gave her the stability she has today.
Don't force your feet together. It's better to be correctly aligned with a small space between your heels in first position. I just made an adjustment. I don't know if you noticed that. You really want to feel that, not that you're locked, but that you're engaged so that nothing is shifting. And what I just did was my rib went out. So I'm trying to keep everything really symmetrical and using my shoulders to kind of set that. So I will do that again. As you extend your leg, push through your heels first, then the ball of your foot. Finish by pointing your toes.
Those feet. Okay, so this is interesting. I do really agree with and like that command that as you're articulating the foot, feel that you're pushing through your heel first. I do think that creates a really nice length in the knee joint that isn't present if you just think of kind of like getting your foot out there. Then that get the foot out there approach mostly uses the quad. What is a little bit confusing to me personally is, and again, open mind here, but one thing that's like, whoa, is separated heels. I won't comment too much on that because, again, I'm not hyperextended. It's just when I have observed other teachers teaching at top institutions, by the way, like Houston Ballet, San Francisco Ballet, I trained in both of those places. The hyperextended students there, when I was there, I remember them being told, keep your heels together at all costs. So maybe this is a very liberating teaching for you hyperextended dancers. Now, one thing that is like, whoa to me is it seems that Misty's weight is very much like her pelvis is not just over the heel, it's kind of a little past the heel to be between the legs. I just don't see how that works if she were to take her hands off the bar. Although maybe she changes the way she dances a little bit when she gets into the center. I don't know. What I personally teach is keeping the spine aligned and the whole torso lined up right over that standing foot, because it's kind of like making a building. If your foundation is here and your foundation is your foot, why would you put the bulk of the building over here? That doesn't make any sense. So what I practice is if I go from 2 feet in first position to standing on 1 foot, I have a little bit of a shift of the torso that happens to go over that standing foot. Earlier on in my training, by default, I was kind of keeping my weight over my heel. It was causing me, in order to stay upright, it was causing me to grip my quads a lot, and it was also preventing me from having the rotation that I could have. So personally, like, this approach has not worked well in my body, but let's learn from it.
Pushing and keeping the knees as straight as possible and trying to have as little shift or movement within the hips, keeping the glutes engaged and hips forward.
Okay, again, love the hips forward thing. The pelvis seems tucked. In this approach, okay, I'm kind of learning a little bit here, because this approach does engage the quads more, but maybe what really hyperextended dancers need is more of an engagement of the quad, to have that support of not just sinking into the back of the leg, but kind of what the quad does is it can pull that knee forward. So yeah, I don't know. I guess it works for her. Okay, dancers, I'm going to go ahead and clip this video off right here. I'm going to make a part 2 because there's just a lot. There's a lot to react to, respond to. So I'm going to break this into 2 parts. So make sure that you're subscribed to this channel and you like this video in particular, because actually liking this video will show the YouTube algorithm that you want to see more like it. So it's probably going to let you know when the second part to this comes out, much more likely than if you just subscribe, ironically. So do both, why not? Again, I hope you enjoyed this video and that you'll join me for part 2 of reacting to Misty Copeland's masterclass. So adios, thanks for watching, I'll see you next week. Bye.